I was given a life expect. My injury was in 1994. I was given a life expectancy of 10 years for the average, and here I am 30 years later. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I've had an amazing life. And it's okay to carry death along with you. And in fact, it like we were talking earlier, it helps keep you focused, I believe. Um, and it doesn't need to be this boogeyman that you've got to shy away from or not talk about or whatever else. And it's like I wouldn't want to be a quadriplegic again. You know what I mean? If I were starting over, it's been kind of difficult. It's just had its challenges, um, but it's a fantastic lesson. You know what I mean? And I encourage you to try it sometime. Okay.
Welcome to Sacred Space, where healing, growth, and connection unfold through the power of sacred mushrooms in community. I am your host, Courtney Rose. My journey with sacred mushrooms spans over 11 years. In 2015, my husband Eric and I were arrested for our work with psilocybin, one of the most challenging experiences of my life so far, and one that deepened my commitment to building community with the mushroom. Since then, I've co-founded the world's first public psilocybin retreat center and now Sanctuary Church. Through it all, I've learned this truth. Authentic healing begins when we open our hearts to ourselves, to each other, and to the Creator. This sacred space honors the transformative stories of our members, each a testament to the sacred power of psilocybin. Join us as we explore what it means to live intentionally with this ancient sacrament. Our journey together begins here, and I am honored to walk it with you. Hi, Jason.
Hello. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me today and recording this special interview. I'm really looking forward to just hanging out with you, really, and sharing your story, and for all the people listening, just gleaning from your experience and perspective. So thank you so much for sharing.
I appreciate being here. Asked that you kind of deal with me. I move around a lot, just pain and stuff. So just ignore the fidget. It's the normal course. So
Yeah, I think we're all a little fidgety these days, so that works. Well, first, I'd love it if you could share a little bit more about about yourself for those who are listening, and I imagine there'll be many people that listen to this episode that don't know you yet. So I'd love it if you could share a little bit more about your journey. I guess I'll go ahead and say that you and me, I've been getting to know you over the last year since you joined the board of directors at Sanctuary. And it's been so wonderful getting to know you throughout that time, and all the meetings that we've gotten to have together. And prior to that, you've been a member of Sanctuary for a couple of years, at least 2.5 years or so.
time is weird. I have no
For a
idea.
while, yeah. But maybe just sharing a little bit more about what specifically what brought you to the mushroom, even before Sanctuary, for folks that don't know.
Well, I mean, like anyone, my path is bumpy and swerving and all of that, but ultimately landed here. Um, so the first thing you'll notice about me is I'm a quadriplegic. I was injured in a water skiing accident when I was 19. Broke my neck. It paralyzed me from the chest down. So My lungs are paralyzed. My arms are like half paralyzed. The rest of my body's paralyzed. Um, but that's the surface level stuff. Um, so I spent after that accident, I spent about a year and a half, something like that, kind of just trying to figure out, all right, how do you go from a 19-year-old kid playing football, chasing girls and all that fun stuff to, to be a dude in the chair, that's you know, looking at the world differently. Um, and then ended up going into business. A lot of my family's in business, so um, decided to pursue a path. Chose technology, just assuming that I'd be surrounded by technology for the rest of my life. So might as well become intimately familiar with it, or surround myself with people that did, to help kind of navigate this course. So learn some of the ins and outs and organization structure, all that fun stuff. So built the business from about 1997 until we sold it in 2014. Um, but during that time, the spinal cord injury started to take its toll, and by 2000, I'm starting to have, more nerve pain, and then that pain escalated and escalated. By 2007, it was pretty disruptive, and um, by 2013, I was mostly bedridden, and so I thought I was dying at that time. Um, anyway, so that sparked a search for like right to die issues, because it was like I was trapped in this body that was permanently jacked up, and the pain was, I wasn't able to sit up, long enough to eat a lot of times, so there was just like a hellish time. And so learned a lot about these right to die issues and kind of the how easy it is to kind of get trapped in that situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so because I thought I was dying, I ended up planning my own funeral. I ended up, pursuing, kind of this, not what I would call suicide, but just basically kind of stop eating and drinking, stop paying people to bring me food and water, uh, and then I got a cortisone shot that basically helped reduce the swelling on the spine enough that I was able to kind of sit up and find myself sitting up and was kind of surprised by that. Moved on to, try to reestablish life. And I've had a decade since then that's been really great. I mean, I've surrounded myself with amazing people. I've had, gone skydiving, I hit the dunes. We've, just had a blast. Uh, but then the pain was ever increasing again. So around probably about after lots of surgeries, ended up stumbling across the idea of ketamine as a potential source for working on this nerve pain. Found out that it was pretty pricey to get ketamine treatment, and found out that mushrooms are kind of adjacent to that concept. So I approached mushrooms from a medical standpoint. Um, and then, so I went into like a deep mushroom experience looking for uh, how to deal with this pain, right? And I was confronted by this what felt like home and a wisdom that I didn't have. And it basically told me that there's a beauty and purpose to pain, and that pain is an articulation of your current skill set. And so I kind of came out like, what the hell was that? And so I like tripped over this spiritual element, right? Um, so then that led to wanting to surround myself with people that were doing this. And I volunteered for Fireside Project for a while and learned how to hold space and into these things. And then wanted to provide some protection for my staff because they were helping me cultivate these things. So that's where I came across the religious freedoms and eventually sanctuary in that. So that's kind of what led me to here.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for taking us along on that ride. I mean, there's so many things that come up for me hearing you share your journey since 19. 19 was when you had the skiing accident. I mean, the first thing that comes up for me is all the things that you've done since then. Being a CEO of a technology company and learning a whole new world, it sounds like, with this whole new set of considerations to think about physically is just incredible to me. And it has me wondering, like, what what is it that kept you going? I mean, you weren't just settling. You haven't settled for just being, in this body in the new way that it is since that accident, but you've done so much more than that. You've set out to be a builder and a contributor to so many things and ventures. Um, so that's just something that's coming up for me big time right now. Like, so many people that don't go through that kind of major transformative event don't do the things that you've done. So it's just amazing to me that you've been able to do all this, even skydiving. You said, which I didn't know that.
Well, first off, I appreciate it. Compliments are a little bit difficult because uh, I don't know that I deserve the kind of credit that I get. You know what I mean? It's like uh, I've just kind of put one foot in front of the other, and if you look at the family support system I've got, I've had like nothing but love poured into me from day one. Uh, and like whenever I was in the hospital, there was a gentleman there named was Freddie that uh, very similar injury, but because of his family's beliefs, he was afraid to tell his family that he was injured because um, it was like a black mark on the family, like there was some kind of karmic effect that caused this accident. So he was ashamed to tell his family about it.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, if I was that guy and I ended up in a nursing home and didn't have the family support, I didn't have all these things, would I have done the things I've done? Right. And if I chased that path for just a little while, I started to realize that, you know, yeah, it looks like I've accomplished a lot. It looks like, this and that, but it was a whole lot more than just me. There's definitely an interdependence here that could be easily overlooked.
Mhm. Yes. Well, initially I felt like, no, I don't really know what you mean, because it's still incredible to me that you've done all these things. And at the same time, I get what you're saying. Like, all that you've done is the sum of all the support and love that you've had. And so I guess I'll say it's amazing that all this support and love has been poured into you, and you've received it, and done a lot with it. I've met some of your caretakers, the people that help you out, and some of your best friends and probably family, you'd consider them, and they are the people that I know. Jonathan and Marla, just such incredible people with the biggest hearts ever. And so, um, yeah, we'll celebrate them as well. They definitely are amazing. So you mentioned discovering the mushroom through your search for initially finding ketamine, and then finding the mushroom, which seems like it was more accessible for you at the time, and kind of going into the medical perspective of practicing with the mushroom. So I'm curious for you, if you could speak more on how your practice has evolved with the mushroom since then, since you first had that first deep dive communion with the mushroom.
Well, it's evolved, pretty substantially because the first time I just tripped over spirituality and then came out and was just like processing as almost a shock effect. And then as I went through Fireside Project, learned to hold space for others and set intentions and all these things, I started to kind of uh, turn it into more of a ceremony where I set an intention ahead of time. So I got with this bullet point outline. Imagine that, right? That basically has like a intentions. Um, they were talking, tell my dose and kind of whatever, but then it also I jot down some notes about any messages or insights that were gained. Then I might jot down some notes under some actions I might take as a result of this, and then under that, some changes I might make the next time. So I kind of templatized how to approach it, which is way too sterile for this thing. But that's kind of the approach I took.
It's very organized of you.
Yeah, but um, yeah, that's a trait that just continues to force itself, But then, you know, as I've gone through a couple of courses at Sanctuary, and there was one that specifically where Eric was talking about bringing yourself as a gift to the experience, not your presence as a gift to the experience, not extracting something from the experience. So instead of coming in and saying that I want to get X, Y, Z out of it, I'm coming in and saying, hey, look, let's be friends. Let's, help me to know, am I on the right path? Am I this, that? And that seems to be an effective dynamic, that, um, uh, yeah, the idea of developing a relationship is fascinating. It sounds ludicrous from the me 10 years ago, right? But now, after having several of these deep dives and getting the sense that this is some kind of divine connection, um, that idea of coming in with my presence is just an open invitation to let's talk about this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a huge perspective shift. I know it has been for me, going from like taking something, just since we're talking about mushrooms here, but really for me, I apply this in all kinds of aspects of my life, but going from taking something and just benefiting from it versus actually having a kind of non-linear exchange and evolving relationship with something is quite a big difference.
And it's identical with people. Like if I come to you looking to what can I get out of Courtney, it's going to be a whole different dynamic than, hey, how do we lift each other up, or how do we learn from one another? And
Yeah. So how has that changed your experience, like in the experience with the mushroom? Like when you have this, as we term, a communion at Sanctuary with the mushroom, and you go into the mushroom space, how has this perspective changed that real-time experience for you?
well, for me, it's turned into just a growing and evolving humility. As you go in and you try to dig deeper and explore more, and you uncover this, like just the tiniest corner of this vast unknown. Um, for me, it's turned into I'm just here to you know have conversation and try to be humble and not steer this thing. And the result has been, for me, more wisdom. Not for me, just more like access to this deeper wisdom that's um, helping to kind of guide my life. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't come in and fix my problems. It shows me how to look at pain differently. It shows me how to interact with people differently. It helps to tone down some of the noise that is distracting me from what's already there. You know what I mean? That just all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's subtle. It's subtle but profound.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I think I do know what you mean. You said something earlier about pain, articulating. Can you say that again? What you said about what you've
Yeah,
learned with pain?
pain is articulation of my current skill set, so it's not necessarily a problem. It just shows me where I'm at. So it's like, okay, I can handle a certain level of pain, and I call that pain. And then once it gets past that level, I call it extreme pain or something I can't handle, and that's okay. That's just something that is beyond my current capabilities.
Hmm.
So it's
Wow.
kind of a learning to be okay with today where I'm at, because we're always, I always feel the need to be better than I am today, right? It's like, oh, I've got to improve, I've got to accomplish, I've got to whatever else, and I always miss today as a result. So the idea of that is perfectly fine where I'm at today. It's teaching me something. It's just showing me the edges of my capabilities today. That's all. But trying to just settle into today, and the pain as a byproduct seems to go down.
Hmm. Wow. That's a huge perspective shift from taking pain as something to just get rid of, like this is a bad thing that I shouldn't have, to, okay, this is an experience that's teaching me something, is what I'm hearing, something about me, and how I can shift my way of being. That's beautiful.
It's something like that. I don't want to pretend to have any wisdom. I'm trying to just navigate this course, you know?
We're gonna put that quote on a poster, Jason, on a t-shirt and sell it on the on the merch store. Uh, um, yeah, so speaking of relationships and touching on this evolving understanding of having a relationship with beings like the mushroom and people, what's it been like with Sanctuary? Really getting into, I mean, you haven't just been a part of this community, you've been a co-collaborator, builder, creator of different facets of this community that we call Sanctuary. What's that like? What's that been like for you in this process, um, over the last couple of years?
It's really been instrumental, you know, because whenever I had this experience, I felt very alone because it was like, okay, I could all the people around me now didn't know what the hell I was talking about. You know? It's like I had this experience that I came back and I look like a nutcase if I try to talk about all this to, you know, whomever. So I had to surround myself with people that were, you know, open-minded and not telling me how to do it, but just basically sharing, kind of like you go into your space, I come out of mine and come back. We're like, all right, what did you see? What did it mean? What did you know what I mean? This idea of like a collaborative curiosity. Uh, but there was also this like a flame I couldn't put out as far as in 2013, 2014, I felt this once I was able to sit back up, I was like, I've got to do something for the end of life stuff because that's a yeah, I had this new not understanding but respect for what happens in those spaces. You know what I mean? And how dark it can get, and you know how difficult it can be, and the need for support and understanding. And anyway, so whenever I joined Sanctuary, it was kind of like, all right, I love the idea of this community. I didn't want to just extract. You know, how does it just help me? I had some time on my hands, so I thought, okay, well, I'd love to do something with the end of life stuff. Told Eric about it. Ended up talking with Debbie, and we ended up eventually forming what's now, you know, Sacred Passage Ministry, um, which I'm so excited to see coming together. You know, where we're taking people that are diagnosed with some kind of life-threatening condition. We specifically don't mention terminal because a lot of people don't want to. They're kind of either in denial or they're not quite at that phase or whatever. And it's better to start this stuff kind of earlier on. So basically, but as a qualifier, just saying, hey, if you're diagnosed with any kind of life-threatening condition, perhaps, you know, considering a ceremony like this might help you in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
The die before you die concept, you know, it tends to take away a lot of the fears of death. You know, like right now, I've got no fear of death. I'm scared shitless about the process. You know what I mean? Different fears, but you know, it's helped with the great unknown. You know. Uh, anyway, and then you'll be in a book club and making these tight connections, and you know, like Brandy and I have become close. Brandy stayed in my house as she was going through town to the Mushroom Festival because I wasn't able to make the Mushroom Festival this year, and all that. And you know, Amber's in the other room right now having a meeting while I'm having this meeting. And, you know, it's you develop these amazing connections. And Russell and Lenore and all. Then they um, they've done qigong, you know, sessions, and I mean, it's uh you know, I feel loved, I feel connected, I feel, you know, there's so much to it.
Mm-hmm.
The joy of helping on the board, you know what I mean, helping out, just saying, hey, let's get together, let's try to, you know, develop something new, develop, you know, ways that we can cover up much legally, but also, you want them. I run out of words, but yeah, it's just
Yeah.
been
That is one of many things that I've missed about having you on the meetings, the board meetings over the last couple of months, is having somebody to just pump the brakes besides me.
I'm sorry to put that back
Jason.
on you.
I have become the brake pumper, the sole one over the last couple months, but that's all right. That's all right. We'll, find another brake pumper to help out soon. I'm thinking about when we started Sanctuary and how I knew that I wanted us to build a community that co-create a community that would support all different phases of life, and a community that would be around for generations to come. My kids, their kids, their kids, really focusing on that really long-term approach to creating a sustainable community. But it was not at the forefront for me to create a supportive, um, doing death differently ministry, a ministry that really supported folks who are in this place that you're in now and that you have been for a little while now. So thank you for really spearheading this along with Debbie. And I know some other folks have definitely been supportive as well, but it's already bringing a lot more meaning into our community. So thank you.
Well, I'm gonna take that thanks, but kind of curb it a little bit, because it's just like before, where I really don't know if I'm doing anything. It's like I feel like I'm just along for the ride. You know what I mean? It's like somehow or another I've landed in a spot where I've got a particular background that helps out in certain ways, that was based on, like we were talking about, being all this love and support being poured into me, um, and then that resulted in this path that now I happen to land myself on the call with you. Um, Not because I'm doing anything really. You know what I mean? It's like there's something going on that's way deeper than me, and all I have to do is kind of stay out of the way. And it's a fascinating ride. I don't mean that just to be humble. I'm I'm amazed by the way things are coming together.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being a cooperative component
There you
of
go.
it all. So, Sacred Passage got started, I don't know when this year, earlier this year, I think. And there's not just creating more accessibility for our members who want to have a ceremony with the mushroom, but there's also these support groups as well, a couple of times a month, that Debbie holds space for virtually for individuals going through life-threatening diagnoses and their families, caretakers, um, whoever in that process. So, what has that been like for you, being a part of those support group calls?
It's this whole thing is absolutely fascinating. Um, because it went from, we probably started a year and a half ago or more, Debbie and I kind of talking about this brainstorming stuff, and you all, and for Sacred Passage get started to even form. Um, and now I'm on the flip side of that. I'm nearing the end of my life, and my family's coming to these support calls, and um, we're talking through the things that are usually not discussed, and that are usually, when someone dies, you're kind of dealing with these emotions that you didn't have a chance to talk about, or I should have said this, or I should have, this, that. Anyway, so it's allowing, I believe, so much, such a healthy approach. It's hard to put into words. Um, it's difficult. It's truly not easy. But I don't know. I'm inspired. I'm thankful. name it. It's also given my, like my parents and siblings that are joining these calls, it's given them a chance to see this crazy mushroom stuff I've been doing. You know what I mean? It's like it can be easy to think, oh, Jason just joined some cult and it's a bunch of weirdos or something. You know what I mean? But as they're joining these calls, and they're meeting Cindy and Debbie and all the other Scott and the others, it's like they're seeing, hey, these are loving people that are just trying to navigate life, and they're using this modality that might be viewed as different, but it's been done for thousands of years, and it's on cave walls, and it's and then when we got together at Harmony in Indiana, they met all of you. My mom was there, and just the whole experience is fascinating.
Um, yeah, I'm hearing you say all of that. What comes to me is just thinking about that growing, this offering growing and becoming more accessible for folks, and thinking about me and Eric when we're at that point in our life, or I don't know, who knows how life unfolds, but just how incredible it is to have that support from someone who's holding space with you, because I can only imagine how challenging some of those conversations might be if you're in a family that doesn't understand what your spiritual practice is, and they're trying to, but they just don't. I can only imagine what that would be like.
It's fascinating. It's difficult to ask your parents and siblings or what to let you go. It's difficult to say, okay, I'm had enough. Um, this body's shot. Um, I could probably kick the can down the road a little bit further, or am I going to? You know, um, that could be challenging set of conversations. But I think that I feel very strongly that we've got this Western mindset of keep propping the body up just as long as humanly possible, fill it full of drugs, do more surgeries, do this, that, even if there's not a good quality life afterward. And so I think a lot of people end up going way past um, the opportunity for quality of life into this fight for survival that is more probably akin to drowning, where you're just fighting to survive. Anyway, um, and so I think that if we look and we say, okay, how does nature handle it? Nature eventually, an animal will stop eating and drinking. They'll kind of seclude themselves. They'll step away, realizing that nature is doing its thing. Um, and that's where I'm at. There was a reading in the Tao Te Ching one day about sharpening the axe, and it was part of it was talking about sharpening an axe, and said that if you sharpen an axe, eventually it becomes dull. Then it also used another example of a bucket of water. So you fill a bucket of water. If you continue to fill it, it becomes wasteful. And that was a really timely reading because I was kind of contemplating this already. And it kind of became clear. So, hey, my axe is sharp. I've had a great life. And now I'm just going to be milking the clock. I keep going. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Not that I don't have anything to offer. I mean, like conversations like this are fantastic, right? But my existence would be limited to like laid back 95% of the day, and in lots of pain and whatever else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I could maybe squeeze into me like this once in a while. You know what I mean? It's like at the point there's enough.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What a wonderful metaphor with that Tao reading. Yeah, I just can only imagine what your experience has been, and it makes all the sense in the world to me and in my heart, for anyone to have the ability to choose when it's their time. Yeah, especially going through all that you're going through right now physically. I'd like to speak more directly to where you're at in that process. If you could talk a little bit more about, if you're open to talking a little bit more about the ceremony that you have planned on Saturday, and what's next for you after that.
Well, first off, let me tell you, I feel like I've been drinking synchronicity from a fire hose because the stuff is coming together in such an interesting way that all the pieces that I thought were mistakes throughout my life were just simply mislabeled. They now fit somewhere, and it's resulted in they're doing a documentary about this, and we've got a doctor on the West Coast that it has been suing the DEA. I started talking with him like 2 years ago, and ended up catching an email from him in my junk mail folder by accident a couple weeks ago, and that resulted in him now being part of this documentary, and just so many things. And then Sick Pass, we started building a year and a half ago or something like that, and the first cohort was going through. I guess the first cohort ends on the 17th, so right today.
Mm-hmm.
So Debbie's coming in probably tomorrow, and we're doing the ceremony on Saturday. Saturday is also my 50th birthday, but I didn't choose this date. You know what I mean? It's like, so this just, wild set of circumstances are just unfolding with zero effort.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel life wrapping up in just a fascinating way. So the plan right now is to do a ceremony with, my brother and one of my caregivers, and another caregiver. Her husband is going to stay in there because she's got a moral level we were talking about earlier. Then Amber's going to be there. I think Eric's going to be there. Russell, Debbie, and so it'll be just a small group of close onesy. Aimed at I really don't know what to expect from the ceremony. This will be my first ceremony, on the dying side of it, but it'll be, focused on again, I don't know what to expect from the ceremony, but I'm looking forward to it. But then I plan to start the cessation of food and water on like the 21st or 22nd. So that, I'll probably be around for another week or so after that, depending on how this body kind of, how well I can let go, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You shared earlier about this bullet pointed checklist that you've developed over time with ceremony, having intentions going into it, and learnings afterwards that you have action steps towards. But what intentions are you bringing into this ceremony on Saturday?
Strictly an openness and a presence. I mean, it's like I'm coming in. So we're talking earlier with bringing my presence as a humble offering to whatever happens to come up.
Mm. Very nice. And your brother is going to be there as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to say which one because it's
Sure. Well, that feels big. Have you been in the mushroom space with him before?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's really hitting me how just special is the word that just keeps coming to mind for me. How special it is just to have to go into this space, this sacred space with anyone at any time is so special. And then to add in the fact that these are all people that you've been building relationship with over the course of years, some many years, and then family adding into that, it feels like there's not even a turn. It just feels like my heart is so big and rich thinking about the experience. How are you feeling about it going into it? Just what's coming up for you?
Everything, it's like, it's what's the adjective for everything rolled into one? You know what I mean? And, because there's the letting go of everything I know and love. There's the anticipation of the great unknown, the adventure of like what's next. You know what I mean? The release of pain, the release of all these things. You know what I mean? So it's like all happening simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely fascinating. So it's scary, it's exciting, and it's all the things rolled into one.
How does those close with you, those closest with you that will be there? You said Marla is going to be there and Jonathan?
No, Marla's
No, okay.
Marla's mom's on hospice right now, so she's
Okay.
unfortunately torn between the two of us.
Yeah.
Marla's been with me for like 13 and a half years. It's so she went skydiving with me. She hit the dunes with me. I mean, we're close,
Yeah.
So she wishes she could be here, and but giving your mom the ability to die at home is a great gift.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not cheating
Yeah.
her along, let her know I'm in good shape, and so don't do it as well.
Yeah. So those that will be there with you, like your brother, have you gotten an opportunity to talk with him about how he's feeling about that experience?
We haven't talked about the experience itself. We're gonna do a lot of preparation Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he and I have been close, obviously, for many, many years. And, I don't think any of us know what to expect. It's kind of just
Of course not. You never know what to expect going into that space. As soon as we do think we know, it all gets blown away. So typically, not always. So I'm curious what your current beliefs or ideas maybe are about life after death, or if you subscribe to that kind of category of beliefs, just your beliefs, spiritual beliefs around transitioning.
so not a deep question at all, right?
Yeah. You could just, make that a sum up real quick.
It's I don't know. I mean, it's I read a book called Journey of Souls, and it talks about yeah. I've read so much since starting this path. Just trying to glean some kind of not necessarily consensus, but just feedback from others who have been kind of down this path, and read a lot about like near-death experiences. And I was very close to dying on the back of the boat, so I kind of reflect back on that and what was happening at that time, compared it to my mushroom journeys, and it feels like we are all this one God. You know what I mean? And that Alan Watts has something where he talks about us being essentially God in drag. And I like this concept. And he talked through it kind of, if you think about yourself being, in a mortal being, then you could do anything and everything. trying to essentially at some point, a million years down the road, you might get bored with that, right? And then you split yourself into multiples, right? And then, uh, a million years down the road, you'll be bored with that because you're playing house or whatever. So, like giving a veil of forgetfulness makes sense at that point because then we come in thinking we are this role, but we're also God at the same time. And so I believe that is probably uh, that combined with like the Jungian concept of mind at large, or I don't know all the I get them all mixed up because they're all it's so deep and fascinating. And read so much like I don't know what the answer is, but it feels like it's in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that perspective that we're all God and drag with this veil of forgetfulness just for an extra dose of fun. So what about your perspective on your body versus your body versus spirit, or however you want to term that body soul spirit combo? Like, what are your beliefs around that as you transition?
I kind of like the concept of the Buddhist concept of self, where um, I do a meditation by Sam Harris where he has you like look at these um, um, angles of perspective where like I'm looking out from my eyes, and if I follow that arrow back through itself, it look for Jason. What do I find?
Mm.
And there ends up being nothing there. And as I do that more and more, and I find nothing, um, there's just awareness. Um, and then I compare that to what happens in the mushroom space where it's just awareness. There's not this dude I call Jason, right? Um, it makes me feel like I don't go anywhere. That I might move on, but I'm not. I'm just not able to move a cup of coffee as easily, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, it reminds me of a book that we read at Sunday service once, a couple years ago, maybe. Dry Those Tears. Have you read that one by Russell something or other? He talks about death being just like any other moment, really, where we're just changing rooms, like walking from one room to the other room. This consistent place of awareness and movement, which for me has relieved some anxiety around leaving my body, or what we call death.
I actually think death is a very, very potent way to engage life. It's um, like I've been on the edge of death for 30 years now. My lungs are paralyzed. My blood pressure is just barely there. And there's been many, many times I've been surprised to wake up, to the point that it's like it's just the norm, you know. And uh, so it's helped me to develop, I think, kind of just like this. Well, let's do it today, then, kind of attitude, and I believe has resulted in more like a zest for life. You know what I mean? It's like this isn't going to last forever. This could be my last meal. This kind of that stoic concept of, hey, this conversation with Courtney is important because it's not going to last. You know what I mean? It doesn't make it somber. It doesn't make it, this and that. It's actually much more fun and rich that way, I think. You know what I mean? And then by combining it with the idea of I don't even know if you can make a mistake. A lot of the things, like I said, I mislabeled. If our mistakes are just mislabeled, um, it starts to feel like, okay, well then let's have some fun. Let's be nice to each other. Let's
Mhm.
let's but lower that stress level. And then when you lower the stress level, you actually raise your IQ points. Because first thing that happens when you get stressed is you lose IQ points, right? So then you probably make better decisions anyway. And so it's like this like virtuous circle that
Mhm.
death engage, I believe.
Yeah, I love that. I feel that way when I come out of the mushroom space. so in such a potent way, particularly I notice with my kids, like all of the little annoyances or, requests of me from them, these amazing little beings that constantly need me, that I'm, pre-ceremony just like, bah, like chill out. But then afterwards, it's this sensation for me of, yeah, this moment is just, this is it. This is it right here. This is all we got. And it's so hard to describe it. It's just an experience, but yeah, I feel like I totally get what you mean. So is this something did you always feel this way? I mean, I know you said you've done a lot of reading and investigating into different perspectives of death um, of recent years, but like before you had this accident, I mean, you were only 19 years old, but did you have a faith practice before then?
I was raised Catholic until I was probably 12 years old. And, like the concept of the Holy Trinity and all this was, I learned and it was, told to me like in metaphor, the Holy Trinity is like if you imagine ice or water or steam, they're all the same thing, but in different forms, and so it's like, that was a fine metaphor, but I couldn't like internalize a lot of this stuff. In fact, I thought it was like wishful thinking that these things people come up with to make sense of bad situations. Um, and then, so yeah, that was like my faith practice. I got away from, but then as I went down this path, like with the mushroom, I experienced the Holy Trinity in a felt sense. And so now it's like I feel like I still can't grasp it, but I feel like I've gleaned it a little bit. I still can't put it into words any better than anyone else, but that direct experience kind of helps to validate some of those things I learned back then. There's other things that I think are invalid as far as like the concept of hell and punishment. I have never seen anything that indicates that that's a thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. So as far as the Holy Trinity goes, we can go ahead and make some flyers to the local Catholic communities and let them know that all they got to do is eat some mushrooms to really feel that one out. Yeah, totally in alignment there. Wow. So this is a pretty big week ahead for you, and for not just for you, but for our community as well. This experience in which you are going through has a ripple effect with our entire community, and particularly the people that have been really getting to know you over the last couple of years with Sanctuary. And so, yeah, I guess I just want to speak more to that. Just the community. This is brand new for me. This experience of someone that I love and care about going through this dying process publicly, vocally, intentionally, and inviting other people into it. I mean, it's changing a lot for me. Um, and so I don't know. I don't know if I have really a question just for that. Just voicing that um, it's bringing a new depth of experience for me, and I know for other people that I've spoken with around about your transition. It's bringing a new depth into that process of death in a community sense, which just feels like something that is kind of lost in a big way in these times that we're in, culturally speaking. Like, because this is brand new for me, I'm only 34 years old, but when I've had loved ones who are older and death is coming for them, I mean, it's just a matter of time because they're at the end of their life, being in their 80s, 90s. Even still, there just hasn't been a whole lot of real intentional conversation with them and processes. So I'm wondering now for you, like, is this something you anticipated with Sacred Passage, this real community process?
You know, it's back in 2013, 2014, I wished for more support. I mean, I had a lot of like home healthcare support and things like that. But what's happening right now is so humbling and so, um, you know, so supportive that it's hard to put into words. You know what I mean? It's yoga. In fact, it's a little bit uncomfortable because I've never been one to like seek to the spotlight. You know what I mean? It's like I don't like cameras and all these things. So doing this publicly is very uncomfortable. But I was actually inspired by what you and Eric have been doing with these podcasts and kind of having discussions that a lot of times are in the shadows, right? Uh, and so, like a ripple effect from that you didn't know is that that's helping me to do this. I'm putting my privacy aside because I think it's an important thing to bring out publicly. I think there's an amazing gift to be available if you can not push death off, because it's like it crystallizes the priorities of today in a different way altogether. And so it's not something you need to wait until you're 50, 60 years old to do. In fact, if you're 20 years old, you're beginning to look at death and say, hey, my kids are going to be this, so let's today XYZ. And you're just keeping your focus more honed in that way. You're less apt to take a job you don't enjoy. You're less apt to do I believe I would be. So I'm hoping that I got way off your question there, but I'm just this whole experience is I'm awestruck.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that with Eric and I's podcast, all the podcasts that we've recorded together, that and how that's impacted you. That really means a lot to me, because similar to what you said earlier, I can't remember the words you said exactly, but it's like, I don't really know what I'm like doing, what all this is for, like my contribution, like what it all means, just like keep showing up and doing the thing, and stuff happens after that. So that's really meaningful to me to hear that. And yeah, I mean, like, you probably don't know that all the conversations that Eric and I have been having with our kids because of this process that you're going through, and our involvement in it, and our ability to talk to our 3-year-old and 7-year-old in different ways, like relative to their age appropriate level understanding, trying to navigate that, but just being able to talk with them, like, oh, where is daddy going on Saturday? He's going to a ceremony with Jason. Why? Jason is, having an intentional experience. He's like he's headed into transitioning out of his body, and like, and then having them continue to ask questions in different ways, and being able to let them know how much support that you have. Like I can see it in their physical response, that like it's soothing to them or something, that like it's okay, it's good, like this is all a part of life. And I can just imagine, I'm really hopeful that being in community like this will just become, like a rhythm of life, like for my children and for us, that death is just a normal part of our conversation, in like a loving, beautiful, ecstatic kind of way.
Yeah, I believe in our culture, death is definitely this essentially the failure of everything, right? It's like we tried everything, we pumped them full of drugs, and then it failed. But they put up a good fight. We talk as if it's this battle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really, hope to demonstrate that you can have a fucking blast dying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was given a life expect. My injury was in 1994. I was given a life expectancy of 10 years, kind of the average. And here I am 30 years later. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I've had an amazing life. And it's okay to carry death along with you. And in fact, it like we were talking earlier, it helps keep you focused, I believe. Um, and it doesn't need to be this boogeyman that you've got to shy away from or not talk about or whatever else. And it's like I wouldn't want to be a quadriplegic again. You know what I mean? If I were starting over, it's been kind of difficult. It's just had its challenges, but it's a fantastic lesson. You know what I mean? And I encourage you to try it sometime. Okay.
We'll see what happens. I surrender to the life experience, but
No, but it has helped to show me like a beauty and the magic of life that I don't know if I could see otherwise, or a deep empathy for people that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
mm-hmm.
You know, I've talked to so many people that are going through the different cancers or different MS or different, all these different uh, challenges that even though they're different than mine, I can empathize with them deeply, and it makes life richer. It doesn't have to be sad. It's just a new depth of color. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds beautiful and also easier said than done. Just like feeling within myself the resistance I have to quote unquote pain, the pain experience, and drastic change in general. It's just, yeah, easier said than done.
Well, I certainly don't want to pretend to know what the hell I'm doing, because I do not. Um, there's a Have you ever heard like Tibetan dream yoga?
Tibetan dream yoga rings a bell, but I don't know anything about it.
Like the concept of like um, lucid dreaming, where essentially you
Mm-hmm.
take awareness from this
Yes.
state through the lucid dreaming state back to this state. And in that concept you're just talking about, as far as moving from one room to another,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just the awareness is happening. I feel like the more like I tried lucid dreaming for a while. I've done all the practices, and I've just apparently been good at it. But the idea of being able to just maintain awareness and then start to see life as just this flow. Um, I think that death does a great job of kind of bringing some attention to that. And these mushroom journeys, coming in and out of those, being able to see life just as this continuous awareness transitioning from one thing to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Belief is like a tremendous skill to develop. And then I believe that like I'm developing a resilience to whatever the circumstances happen to be. You know,
Mm-hmm.
happens to be being a quadriplegic right now, and so I got some shit I got to deal with. You know what I mean? Um, but keep kind of just inching forward and do the next right thing, and I think that if I can like try to maintain awareness through the dying process and and not resist it, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm probably
Yeah.
no, but it's a good shit. It's something fun to try. Yeah.
It's all a practice, right? So if you were to imagine, after you transition from this particular, what we're calling life, this body that you have right now, and down the road, what's something that um what's something that you would really want others to learn from your life? Like, what comes up when you imagine someone even just listening to this conversation right now? What would you want them to really take away from it?
Well, I had a conversation the other day with my nephew who's going to be 18 here soon, Aiden, and he grew up on my lap, uh, driving the chair, and we played demolition derby with his little four wheelers, and uh, he learned to learn right, left, driving my boat, in my lap, and, and all these things, and so I had the opportunity to talk with him the other day, and kind of wanted to get his perspective on this, because he's seen what I've been through. He's whatever, and he told me that he was very proud of like the way I handled adversity and the way that he's like being injured and then built the business and sell the business and planning my death and now even dying trying to carve a new path or at least show a way or
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I would like one thing that he took away is that it was helping him see that you can navigate this adversity, and also that just because things are the norm doesn't make them correct, and that they're changeable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so life is malleable. You can kind of dream your own future into existence, right? And it's a hell of a lot of fun to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Mm. Well, what's really coming up for me right now is this feeling of I'm trying to make some kind of like comprehend for myself like how um you're starting this process of voluntary stopping of eating and drinking next week, and just trying to like grasp that for myself. And I know this is something that you've mentioned before, is just your loved ones. Like, one of the hardest things about this process is your loved ones, just trying to make sense of it and letting go. So yeah, I guess that's something I'm experiencing right now, is trying to make sense of this for me, like that you're going to be doing this next week, and just how all kinds of things come up for me, like one, just that I'm going to miss you. I don't understand, like how I'm not going to see you again, like in this way, in this form. So I'm trying to like make sense of that for myself. Um, hope that you'll show up in a different way, is helping me just like let go of you in this form. And I don't know, just really feeling, I don't know, a lot of gratitude, just so much gratitude, to be able to have this conversation with you. And for folks to be able to witness this, because this is so special. That word special just keeps coming up, but it's also special, like what's happening with Sanctuary as a whole, how we have so many people in our community that have helped bring the mushroom back into our lives, help it be something that we can talk about with each other, just our spiritual practice with the mushroom. And then we have all these other facets of life that are directly benefiting, like the dying process, and how the mushroom is playing such a big role for you, it seems like, from this perspective in that process. And just like the most impactful thing for me right now is seeing our community come together around your dying process, and how Sacred Passage is blossoming in ways that I wasn't aware were possible, like between the support groups and us developing this whole rite of passage process with your help and so many other people's help, just developing some sort of process for our community to move through this transition with you, with like, Sunday service this Sunday, just making that a way to honor you, yes, and to honor all of our experience. Like you said earlier, this awareness of death can bring more life. And so just seeing how beautiful death is just something I'm really grateful for right now. And just to have you as a friend, I'm feeling really grateful for that.
Well, I want to thank you all for starting Sanctuary and by just carving this path. And I think it's fascinating that I know you said you're trying to figure out how to kind of rationalize this and that, and for me it seems like I have to keep doing that until I realize that that's not possible, and I just have to let go. And then if I just focus on doing like the next right thing, we're reading a book in book club right now called Radical Wholeness, and it talks about the idea that we segment everything, and as soon as you segment something, you exclude everything else. It's like you break the thing you're ready to talk about. And so it talks about like we mediate our experience through five senses, and the sight, hearing, this and that. He goes, but if you look at like balance as a sense, or speech as a sense, as like an exercise of wholeness, that life is just like this flow that's unfolding. It's like you and I are hearing my words for the first time. I don't know what I think until we both hear it. And it's kind of this ongoing. But there's a butterfly effect to everything we're doing, everything we're saying. And like you and Eric having this podcast resulting in, and helping to inspire me to do what I'm doing now. And the phone call I made 2 years ago to a doctor in Washington to ask about how psilocybin chemotherapy might this and that now results in this guy being on the thing. It's just these tiny little what seems like nothing things that we're doing result massive impact down the road.
Yeah. That takes a lot of pressure off just to step into this experience of unfolding, just how the little things can be so big, and it's all just happening right now, continuously. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with me, the folks listening to this conversation?
Just don't underestimate your impact, because I feel like the, Cindy is helping to make like the shawl that I'm going to wear after my transition. Debbie has been such an incredible support component throughout all this, and getting to know the community and the individuals in the community, and that just the words, the interaction, and the intention, and all that are so massively impactful. It helps. It gives me strength through what I'm doing. And, it's like right now, it feels weird to be kind of the center of attention on this, right? I just don't like being center of attention. And I'm trying to let go of this thing I call Jason, right? But the interactions with each individual are helping to do that in ways that each individual might not understand. And I'm just so humble and so amazed, and I just hope that's kind of a takeaway, that all kind of contributors in this thing that's going on. It's aimed at this Jason Eftink character at the moment, but it's all of us.
Yep, we're all contributing to the giant godly drag show that is life. Yeah, well, thank you so much for carving out this time, this really special time in your day, and it means a lot to me to have had this conversation with you, and I just really look forward to the unfolding.
I do too. Thank you so much, Courtney. I appreciate everything. I appreciated the friendship. I appreciated your efforts. I know that I'll go. I'm the world rests on your shoulders, as far as like you're saying, trying to pump the brakes, trying to plus be a mob and do all these incredible things. So I appreciate knowing you, and appreciate your efforts, and the opportunity to work together and have some fun.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun, I think. Thank you so much.